Welcome to The Girl Herd,
where we talk Texas football.
and a bunch of takes you've probably already heard.
But not from us.
Back from Nashville, y'all, with the dub.
One on the road.
It was an ugly one, but a win nonetheless.
Yeah, W is a W at this point.
I actually really enjoyed going to Vanderbilt Stadium, and I actually really like their stadium. I'm excited for them that they're expanding it. But overall, I had a good time visiting.
I feel like a lot of people are like, why are y'all going to the Vandy game? I'm like, why would we not? It's in Nashville. Are you kidding? It's like so much fun things to do in that city. And I feel like a destination that people just want to go to, right? Like there's so much to do there. It's an easy town to kind of get around. Like you said, the stadium was cool to see. It was filled with burnt orange, which we love to see that our peeps are traveling and supporting the team. But yeah, like how can you not want to go to Nash Vegas?
Well, I know every time we say it, every like similar reactions. Why? And then you say Nashville, and immediately it's like, I love Nashville. Have you ever been? Where are you gonna go? When we were like frolicking around Broadway before the game, we had to be like, all right, we have a game today. We were having too much fun.
No,
Definitely lost track of time for sure.
Yeah, still
that's
don't
what I
have
was gonna say. Time went by so I mean, we say fast. I also don't exactly know what time we left the hotel, so maybe it wasn't as fast as we were thinking, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that's gonna be Texas for a while, which I love though with our away games because it's all new cities for us,
new. Yeah.
for the next couple of seasons. So I know we talked about it before, but definitely excited to go to Baton Rouge for LSU game. Go see how Ole Miss does it up. I know they were playing, was it OU? Yeah, OU this past weekend. And I saw OU fans on Twitter just saying how amazing we've all heard about like their tailgating. I know Michelle, you've been, I don't know about you, Angie, but definitely want to see that too. So I'm excited for us because we travel anyways.
Yeah. Having my sister come with us this weekend, and of course her husband is Ole Miss alum. They have season tickets, so that's when we went before. We did a whole family thing, and she was like, when do they play again? Like, is it 2026? Like, I want to plan it. She bought a hat, an Ole Miss hat, like our Texas hat, at the game, so she's ready for us to play already. So yeah, Oxford's one of my favorite places to go as well. And I know we're not going to go to Arkansas this year, but when I tell people, they're like, are you going to the rest? I'm like, actually, not Arkansas. And everyone's like, why? That's actually a really amazing place and stadium. I'm like, okay, eventually. Just needed to not go this year.
Yes. We have time. We have time to explore other places.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, if anybody, wants to sponsor our travels, we will be happy to add some trips.
Yeah, Vaughn Lane, hotels, anyone? Yeah. Staying at the Virgin Hotel in Nashville was also amazing. They were great.
Top tier experience staying there for sure.
Yeah.
I loved it. Well, do we want to
for us?
Yeah, do we want to hop into our thoughts about the game? Devin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's a W. Like I don't really think that the game needs to be some like big indictment of anything. I feel like I at halftime I was like, oh yeah, like this is about to be us hanging about 40 points on them. That's how it felt, right? And then there were penalties and little hiccups along the way, and it slowed us down in the second half. But a win is a win on the road in the SEC, and we move on. Obviously, the AP voters, they thought a little differently and dropped us down one. But we've already discussed how much like that kind of doesn't matter right now. We have to just play the games. Obviously, there's a big headliner out in College Station this past weekend with LSU playing A&M, and those were the two undefeateds, right? So now it's just A&M, and I know they're riding high and they love it. And I would love nothing more than for our last game of the season to be making them not perfect. So we'll see. But I think for us, like my overarching thoughts about the game are that let's just keep playing. Like, it's not going to be perfect every game. I don't even want to say everyone needs to calm down because I also don't even think everyone needs to calm down. Like, people should have their opinions, and like that's what sports fandom is. Like, I feel like our fan base is like all over the place, telling people what not to say, and it's like, y'all, it's really not that serious. It's supposed to be fun. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like everyone has opinions. Everyone's saying all different things. Like people, of course, talked about the LSU and A&M game. Like, how did you feel about that after coming off of your game? Like, well, back to what Devin said last pot, like they actually we kind of needed Aggies, I guess, to win in a way. So because we don't know what other games would be LSU's loss, and then we really hope that we are Aggies' loss. But I mean, I think everyone has their opinions about how the game went. It's very you can very quickly judge certain things that happened about the game, and like you can pin it on one or the other. I didn't love how second half went, which was actually reverse of what we usually do. So I agree. Like going in at halftime, I expected the second half to be so different. And of course, we've discussed this a little bit already, but I mean, mostly it was self-inflicted. And so there's just things that we need to fix. And I love obviously leaving with a win. And I do think that Vandy is proven this year, of course, to be a pretty competitive team. And so even though like people were talking about the stadium and how small it is, and they were saying actually that's kind of like harder to play in because it's not as like rowdy and loud, and so you have to like get the energy from somewhere else, which I was like, man, I didn't really think about it that way, but I did love that our fans showed up. And I am happy that we have a bye to regroup and hopefully get some players back to healthy.
Yeah, I mean, same sentiments to a lot of what you guys said, but some of the biggest things for me is the 10 penalties for 108 yards is unacceptable, right? That's something that we continue to see week after week is these penalties, and hopefully that they can kind of get that under control. We need to play a lot cleaner of football for the remainder of our games, or that's what I would hope to see. But also a shout out huge to the defense because they continue to show up with the juice and the energy every freaking week, getting turnovers, doing all the things that they need to do, putting pressure on quarterbacks, you name it. They are showing up for us, and that really is a huge piece of why I feel like we keep winning these games, even when our offense can't seem to be as consistent as what we saw them in the beginning of the season. But then, too, our special teams, right, is another thing that we are having a little bit of trouble, like with the punting. And setting whether it's our defense or offense, setting them up for success is another just like area of improvement. But again, shout out to Vandy. They are that team, I feel like, that this year that is going to pound the pavement until like the last second goes off of the clock. And they're that team. Like they can upset anybody at this point. They have players and they have that grit and the gut and the heart that they're putting out like on that field, and you can see it. You can see the passion that they play with. So again, win is a win. Glad we made it through, but we got some things to work on still. Like we still haven't seen that complete Texas team that I think that we're all hoping to see.
I think that's a positive and upside for us, right? Like, we still haven't seen everything. And in my head,
Yeah.
I feel like some of that has to do with Sark knows this is a long season. I'm not showing you everything I've got. And so I think we're working through a bit of what we've already shown. And that's going to be difficult if you have film on us because you're scouting to that. And Sark is holding back, I think, a lot of the playbook for later on in the season. So a couple of things about what both of you all said. First of all, the quarterback on Vandy, he said that we're the best defense that he faced. So appreciated the props that he gave us.
Yay, defense.
Mutual respect for the teams there, and I really liked that. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was about like your comments around the stadium and it being harder, Michelle, to play in smaller, because there's a huge convo going on right now around Kyle Field versus DKR, and people have their little like sound-o-meters. I don't really know, but they measure the loudness. I don't even know where you buy that, but like they were like going back and forth about how our stadium is way louder than Kyle Field. I don't know, y'all. I'm just going off of what I know before they even renovated it. And I already told y'all Kyle Field looks intimidating on TV. It is intimidating in person. So I'm gonna have to give A&M the edge in terms of crowd, stadium, loudness, interaction. They do have the edge on us right now. But we're getting
Yeah, I had a friend that was at the Georgia game and then was also at the A&M game this past weekend, and he was saying all the differences, right, in the games. He's like, you can tell the difference of like how elite Texas is and how expensive everything is. And he was like, at Kyle Field, they have free refills for any kind of soda drink. Like they just have fountains everywhere. But he's like, they also have so many traditions, and how that 12th man is real when you get into Kyle Field, and how, like, I think almost 40,000 students go to the games, which is so cool to me, right? Like that is what college football is about to me, is having all those students present and the energy that you get from them is just unreal. And like the towels, right? We've been talking about this too, and like the pom poms. Would love to see Texas hand out some pom poms so you just see them in the air, just creating that like crazy environment. You want teams to fear coming into DKR, like how loud it's going to be, what the environment's going to be, what you're going to hear. Like you want it to be chaos, and hopefully like our fans continue to like show up so we can bring it.
I know. I mean, I've said this since we were in college, and like we played obviously back and forth, and I had gone even before they renovated it, everything, gone to Kyle Field, and I just remember being like, being on Palm and then having attended an A&M game when we played there as, just a fan. And I was like, man, it's just so different. Like the way their fans show up and like how rowdy they are and all of the traditions they have, it's completely different. Again, I think our game day and our experience at DKR has immensely changed and for the better. It's still nothing like when the Aggies do their song and like sway and have everything. And I just, yeah, like I do, you're right. Like we bring the pom-poms. We want that tradition. That's such an SEC thing. Like I hope we get stuff like that. They handed out towels at the OU game a little bit, but not even like all the fans got like something. Like let's get rowdier, let's do something to do it. But and I mean we're getting there, we're getting our traditions, the fireworks, the drone show, that's all like still super cool and and I mean obviously we were crazy at the Georgia game and the fans showed up. But yeah, but I can see the comments just about from Vandy game versus like DKR or Kyle Field or wherever it is, and how different that could be to play in an atmosphere, regardless if it's a home team or away. Like people are yelling and it makes you get into it, and regardless, right? Like even if they're booing you, you're like, okay, game on. Like
No, they were showing a video of the sway and Kyle Field from this past weekend, and the media, like, of course, was filming it. The media camera was like moving from the stadium, like the camera was not able to stay still on its own. Like
yeah.
that's how freaking crazy. But nonetheless, I mean, a lot of our fans are now talking about how they're worried about that game. How are y'all feeling at this point? Because I feel like the feelings have shifted in general for lots of different things, but how are y'all feeling about that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think after watching them on Saturday, it's a completely different tone than I feel like the A&M that we saw at the beginning of the season. So I do think that we are really going to have to show up. And I think by then, hopefully, Quinn is completely like back eased into his groove of what we saw in the beginning of the season and the confidence that he was playing with, along with our line. Like, I think that our offensive line, I'm not really sure like what the mishap is going through there, but in the beginning of the season, I don't think that we had the doubts that we do now, or like seeing the undisciplined play or like whatever it is. I don't know if it's like an energy thing, but it seems to kind of have ebbs and flows with our offense. And hopefully the next however many weeks until we see A&M, we can kind of solve some of those problems wherever they may be happening. But Kyle Field is gonna be unreal, and I just will not be able like to handle or bear if we do not come out with a victory from that game. We will never be able to live it down or hear the end of it. And I just am like, please no. And their quarterback that played on Saturday too looked great. So we'll see. Well, we shall see.
Yeah, they looked really good this weekend. I like the blackout. And I love that the fans did it too. And then it just adds to all the other stuff that they already bring to the table in their home atmosphere. And so I know they're ready. They're excited. Like it went from, I have a lot of Aggie friends and family. And at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, why do we have to play Texas this year? Dang it, we're not ready. And now it's all of a sudden like, we can't wait to play y'all. Like, because all of a sudden Texas isn't looking great and A&M is looking like a force. But I still like, I'm like, I know it is crazy how things have changed. I still believe, and I agree, and I think Devin, you were kind of like saying it a little bit of like, I don't think we have played our best football yet. And we do have a long season to go. I think Angie said like some playbooks too. Like I think I hope that we take this bye really and like get in control, and Sark talked about it like mentally as well and emotionally and physically and everything that they need to take care of over this next, couple weeks until we play again. And I just hope that we take that time. And then mind you, like we still have half the season left, hopefully, and that's crazy, but we still have several games before A&M, and I do know that they can fix these things. I mean, how crazy at the beginning of the year that we were talking about how clean we were playing and like not getting all these penalties. And now, I mean, yeah, and he was like 10 penalties for 108 yards. Like it wasn't like false start or, like it was a lot. It was all penalties that gave us lots of yardage, and it's hard to come back from that, like 2nd and 20 or, whatever. So, but yeah, like I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm nervous about it. Like I'm ready. I believe in us. And we still have a few weeks before that game. And I know what I keep telling everyone is I'm like, it's a rivalry. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's a legendary game. So
You're not saying you're nervous, but are you nervous? I mean,
Give us the real.
You just know that Kyle Field is going to be a force, and those guys are ready and they're confident and they're showing it. And like we have shown that we're not so confident lately, but I think that there's lots of things that play into that. So
interesting about the confidence thing. I personally am still riding really high on our team, and it's because everything I said in last week's pod around why we like to play from certain positions. Like we'll be going in and we will be the away team. That already gives us an edge. Like Sark kind of put it out there for the Michigan game. We like to be the villain. Like our team seems to like to play from that standpoint versus the other way around. I think I might be more concerned if we were playing them at home, honestly. Even though all the things we just said about Kyle Field being electric, I think our team takes that and uses it back as their own energy, right?
exactly.
Well,
yeah.
I think we'll be fine. I think our defense, like Angie mentioned, is going to be the thing that kind of takes us home there. And then from an offensive perspective, I mean, that's sort of the other conversation. And we were dabbling last week, but I thought that Sark's comments were really interesting. I don't know if y'all like read the press conference or got to see it today, but he was speaking to a question that he was asked regarding Quinn, because a big conversation right now is like he does a lot of short throws versus downfield, and people are starting to bring this up. So it was a question that he got asked, and Sark was like, "Tell the DBs to not be so far back, right?" So that he could do that, and I was like, it's a very interesting response to that inquiry. But I mean, I don't know, like. How are we feeling at this point regarding Quinn? He came out and he played a good game on Saturday, which I think the expectations of this program, the expectations of QB1 are so high. And like it comes all the way back around to confidence. Cause you mentioned it, Angie. You were like, it's hard to play for Texas. It's hard to have Texas on your chest. But like at the end of the day, I would love to see us work on confidence in the bye week because we're going to need it.
Yeah, I think again at the beginning of the season, Quinn came out with so much confidence, right? Like the swag, like everything he was doing, he was in it. And so it kind of makes me wonder, like, one, how long is it going to take for him to completely get back to that game that he was playing and the confidence that he was playing with? And what do we have to do to get him there, right? Like you said, it's so hard to play for Texas. You hear the negative, you hear the doubts, you hear the fan roar when Arch comes in. All of these things I feel like play a part, but we as a fan base, like you kind of touched on too earlier, I feel like we have to support him, right? Like we have to help build that confidence. And I do think that Sark, that's a great thing about him as a coach too, is he knows how to do that. And he's going to style the play and style the offense in a way to continue to build and build and build his confidence back. And so I don't know, maybe that is one reason too why we aren't seeing as many throws like down the field and long plays, because he's working to get that confidence back up. And I mean, right, Isaiah Bond was out this week, which hopefully having these 2 weeks will get him back to where we need him to be. But then again, we had other people that came and stepped up to the plate, like they should have. So I think it's a matter of like how long it's going to take Quinn. I don't know what the reasonable answer is. And then also I keep hearing things circulating too, and people like popping up questions is like, is he even back 100%? Is he still hurting? Is he still like dealing with this injury? And that's also why we're not seeing those big explosive plays down the field either.
Yeah, 100%. The Isaiah Bond thing was going to be what I said. He was by and large Quinn's favorite weapon, so it could just be something as simple as that.
I do. I was thinking about Sark as well and like standing behind him. And I got to see the press conference today, and there was a lot of questions around Quinn, and Sark handled them. And you can tell that he, is surrounding him, supporting him, all the offenses. And he had a lot of discussions about like how Quinn may feel coming off of the Georgia loss and then moving into this week and playing at Vanderbilt, and how that's become a big thing in a road game. And then of course moving forward into this bye week and what that needs to look like for Quinn. And he was like, again, like especially talking about mentally. So I find that interesting, and I love that he does stand behind him. And I did love that the players that were in stepped up, like they stepped up to the plate and they delivered. Like we had some really great plays that did occur, and Moore's touchdown there's all different things that happen. Golden as well, like we saw some great things from them. And I agree, there was lots of conversations of hopefully this bye also gives our players who are hurt to come back, and Bond being one of them. But I think it's so easy to tear down Quinn and like blame it on a quarterback, right? But there's so many other things that played roles, like our penalties and the O-line, as well as, that Sark mentioned that there was a play that Quinn changed the call in the middle of the play. And, when they went to run, he just said it quickly to the guy, changed the play, and it ended up being a touchdown play. So I just like, there's lots of stuff that goes into it that we don't see obviously when watching the game, and especially being there. And so I was impressed that we started off with a tipped ball and then he delivered and collected himself right afterwards, right? Like I think that speaks a lot to him and his character. And then I think the second half is mostly the penalty stuff. So I think we're okay, like in terms of Quinn. And I think we'll see Arch again, of course, and utilize that weapon as well.
What are your thoughts, Devin?
I mean, I don't know. Like I do think there's something there. Like I love the idea of Sark having Quinn's back, but I also feel like there's a lot more there that sort of does make me wonder and worry. And like we're in an okay space now. But, you know, let's hope that it stays that way. And I just know that like his job is to like win the games. And I think that while it's not a weakness at all, like his way of caring for these players is a little bit different than other head coaches. That is a good thing. However, like this is a business of college football. And so I think that people are coming down on Quinn, and there's nothing wrong with that. Quinn needs to play better and do better. Like, I think it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's like, get off of Quinn. Don't talk about Quinn. It's like, why can't we talk about the quarterback? And why is it like a topic we're avoiding a little bit? I think there's a reason why, and it's coming from the head coach and the way he's handling the situation, the way he's answering questions is then coming down to the fan base, which Angie, 100% we should be supporting QB1 and I fully do, but I also don't think that he should be someone that we don't question. And I think that last couple of games, like he's someone that we could question. That's all.
I completely agree with that. Like, what do you want to see from him after the bye week?
Confidence. That's it. Like get hype again like he was. Like it's I think so crazy to say like energy, but that's really all that it is. And yeah, some nice shots downfield. Sark's perspective is that that's not the looks that defense is giving us. You know, Bond is out, and so we've got a couple of different things and factors in the mix, but hopefully he can get some nice yardage down the field multiple times to kind of at least quiet the noise, but also the inner noise that he probably is feeling within himself too. And end of day, we need him. So very happy that he's QB1, very happy that he decided to come back for a senior campaign. Arch would not have been able to do all the things that Quinn has done, and we know that. So yeah, energy and confidence. Like come get back to like having fun. I think he's feeling the tightness of everything around him, and it's like pressure bursts pipes or it makes diamonds. Like, which one are you about to be?
Yeah, and you can kind of, I mean, see it on its face, right? That's why I think people are questioning it and talking about it. And is he 100% and all those things? And I agree, it's an energy. And that's why I think it's helpful that like Sark and the offense are around him and supporting him because it's obvious like that we all need it, like give a little boost. But what do you hope to see in the bye week, Ange?
I think that y'all kind of said it because too, right? As QB1, everybody is looking to you, right? Like not even just the fan, like the team. And so you have to come and bring that energy because then it continues to trickle down to everybody. So I don't know, maybe we need like a little kumbaya, a little team building fun activity. I don't know, but something needs to happen because even us starting slow, like that can't happen either, especially in this conference that we're in because that can turn real nasty real quick, right? If we're coming out not full steam ahead. But I think really just to clean up like and I don't know where that comes from either like what they have to do what they have to implement but I also feel like we have so much athleticism on our team and you can kind of see that on our offense right like some of the calls I feel like that they call is like because we're going to get yards after the catch or we're going to do this or we're going to do that but I also kind of want to see especially going into an environment like Kyle Field is like an easy pass like if we need 7 yards put it right at the 7-yard mark like we should have more than one receiver that's running a route that's going to put us to guarantee that kind of first down marker spot versus relying on okay I know that they can do something after the catch because the DBs from these other teams are showing up right like can we really rely on that all of the time?
Yeah. I think the other thing that's hurting us is like the running back room, like the injuries and just injuries across. I mean,
Yeah.
Sark has said multiple times this week and last week, he's like, nobody's 100%. So I think that's his way of like maybe hinting that Quinn isn't without like saying it or trying to like make an excuse. But it's a long season. I know we haven't been on the field, but we've been traveling to these games. I know we feel the fatigue ourselves just from being spectators. So imagine what they're mentally feeling with a course load of work. And so it's hitting us I love that the bye week is hitting us now. It's like you get to rest this coming weekend and then prepare for 4 more SEC games. And then I think that's good. Like I like the mix of teams we're playing. Florida and Kentucky are going to be competitive. Arkansas is coming for us because they know that they beat us last time that we met them. And then, of course, ending with A&M, just like the good old days. So I don't know. Like, I think that's a good set of games, a good mix of like energy to get us going. I actually think it will be really interesting to see what happens to like the A&Ms and Tennessees, because remember we're saying like with their schedule, we did ours like Big 12 style. So like all non-conference, then all conference. A&M is playing like New Mexico State the weekend before us. So how will that play? And how will the other SEC teams look as they exit the regular season and go into playoff? Because I think it's going to end up benefiting us actually by having a little bit of pace going in.
Yeah, so Sark on Angie on the Kumbaya, Sark did talk about that they're doing some team building and that is something that they add in. So love that. And I agree, like ready for the bye week. I think we all need it. Everyone keeps asking me like, where are you off to next week? And I'm like, we have a bye week and we need it and our guys need it. Like, but yeah, and I can like the rest of the season I'm excited for as well, Devin, and all those games that are coming up. I mean, we still have every week is a big game.
I mean, look at the numbers I feel like Arkansas just put up this past weekend. And people were like, oh, that's going to be such an easy win. And I'm like, they put up insane offensive yards. So again, like you really never know. Like you have to come correct every freaking Saturday. Like balls to the wall, all gas, no brakes. Have to do it.
Yeah, that's what Sark was saying. Like, you asked us, anyone at the beginning of the year how Vandy would go. Like, everyone just thought that was like no big deal. Like, look how it's turned out. So, yeah, SEC, man.
Yeah.
Welcome, they said.
Yeah, and I like what you said too, Devin. You mentioned something about like the emotions like of going through this season, and I feel like we even have that like throughout the game, right?
Yeah.
It's always as if I'm like, why do they always do this to us? I feel like I just want to have a game where I'm like calm, like yes. Handling business everywhere. Thank you for not giving me a heart attack or like heart palpitations. So
Seriously.
hopefully we'll get one of those.
I know my mom was like, Texas has a bye and the Texans also have a bye on Sunday. She was like, I can have my emotional status for Saturday and Sundays back this weekend. Like,
No, like honestly, I'm so looking forward to just like couch time this Saturday and the other games. Because when we are supporting our school in the way that we are with going to the games, it's very hard to watch the other slate. Like, unless our game is hitting at a certain time. Like, of course, this past weekend, most of the A&M game we got to watch because it came after. But I'm looking forward to watching other teams because we can't really do that as much.
Correct. And like stress free again. Love to just sit and relax. Like this doesn't impact me really, but here just to watch some freaking football.
yeah, exactly. Like, get to just watch football and be like, ha ha ha, I don't really care what happens. This is why I love football.
Last bye was perfect because that's when
Yeah.
Bama lost, right? To Vandy.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck's happening? It was the funniest day for us because we weren't playing. So we got to slander others.
We're going to enjoy that couch and football time.
Yeah. So we can't wait.
Yay.
Thanks for tuning in, peeps. We can't wait to see you next week.